Okay, quickly, since we went a little bit over time on a rant. So, the beginning of the parsha. Is Yisro coming to the Jewish people? Nobody has any clue. Just has no clue when this story happened. The Rishonim, the Midrashim, everybody divides. Now, certain Mefarshim are always tend towards assuming that things are in chronological order, and therefore they interpret this story in chronological order. But there are many Mefarshim, and you can go through the Midrashim, you can go through the Rishonim, you'll see, who deny that this happens now, for several reasons, right? You go through it. Right at the first pasuk, Vayishma Yisro Chohein Midyan Chosein Moshe Eis Kol Asher Asar Elohim LeMoshe L'Yisrael Amo Ki Hotzia Adonai Yisrael MiMitzrayim. So first of all, several Mefarshim, they say if this really happened right at the beginning, then this is a very wordy pasuk. Right? Et Kol Asher Asa Hashem L'Yisrael Amo Ki Hotzia. Right? They're like, it sounds like there's more going on, like more things have happened than just Yetziat Mitzrayim, right? He could have, if it was just Yetziat Mitzrayim and Kred Yam Suf, which is the end of Yetziat Mitzrayim, he could have just said that Yitro heard that God took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, or split the Yam Suf. But Lav Dafka, because it could be, okay, it's Kred Yam Suf, and it's Amalek, and whatever. But certain Mefarshim, just, they feel like it's later on. That's not the biggest, right? That one doesn't bother me too much. The bigger problems are, some of the bigger problems are geographic. Is that the Jews don't go to, right? In Bishalach, we heard about the Jews at Refidim. The problem is, we only find out about them traveling to Refidim, right, later on, right? Which implies that there is, that they, in fact, right, that they're out of order because they haven't traveled there yet. Right, they haven't traveled there yet. Furthermore, the Mefarshim have problems with the fact that Yisro comes, and they are talking about laws, but very few laws have actually been given at this point, right? To have an extensive conversation about law that's been given is a bit odd before the laws have been given.
What is being shofet?
Correct. Now, part of it also depends. Part of it is also that in Dvarim, when you hear about this story of the judges, it sounds like the story of the judges happened in the second year of Yetziat Mitzrayim and not the first year of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Kamuvan, this story, right? At this point, we still are only a few weeks after Yetziat Mitzrayim. So if the judges really happened in the second year, that would be problematic. Another problem is that in Bamidbar Perek Yud, you have the story of Chovav, which according to Chazal, Chovav is another name for Yisro. And that's the story of Chovav coming and leaving the Jewish people happens in the second year of Yetziat Mitzrayim. So if you think that Chovav is Yisro, so either you posit that he came home, then met them somewhere randomly in the desert and went home again, right?
I read that somewhere.
What?
I read that somewhere.
Well, of course, the Midrash who thinks that this happened in the first year and thinks that Chovav is Yisro thinks that there were two trips.
Right.
Now, if you think Yisro isn't Chovav, so fine, Yisro came first year, Chovav same second year, big deal.
You can't just say it's the same incident, and some other incident.
Certain Mefarshim say it's the same incident, but then the question is, okay, when did it happen? Because this one, the story of Yisro doesn't actually have a dating. The story of Chovav does have a dating, namely that it happened later. Right? So there's, again, we can go through, there's like 100 different reasons that Mefarshim go through and struggle with the chronology of this perek. So you have some of the Midrashim and Mefarshim say, no, this isn't chronological order, and they solve all those problems. Some say, no, this happened in the second year with the story of Chovav. Some people say it happened after Matan Torah before the building of the Mishkan. Some say it happened after the building of the Mishkan. I want to just raise one point, which is noted by the Tur HaAruch, and it's noted by the Balei Tosfot. Both of them reject the notion that this story could possibly be out of order. For one reason, well, many reasons, but one which really bothers them. Can you think about what it is? Right, this is where there are unintended consequences to how you read this story. What would bother them the most about the notion that this story happened after Matan Torah?
Why did he not hear of Matan Torah? That's why he came.
No, so certain people say, okay, so we heard about Matan Torah.
Yeah. We're given here, by this event of Moshe. Could that happen after Matan Torah?
What would bother them? And it's one of those things that if you don't look at them, you'll realize that, you totally overlooked the importance of this.
Moshe's wife and kids were...
Yeah, that's exactly it. Meaning, according to the position that this happened later, the only Jews in the world who were not present for Matan Torah are Moshe's own family.
Or the Jews.
What?
Or there's non-Jews.
Or whatever, right? Which is not a good situation, right? That's the Tur and the Balei Tosfot al HaTorah say, I don't understand, right? There are many problems here, but can you stomach the possibility that the only people in all of Klal Yisrael, especially when you start adding midrashim, that at Matan Torah were all the Jewish people and all the descendants and all the neshamas for all of eternity, that means the only neshamas in all of history that weren't at Matan Torah were Moshe's wife and kids, right? Because presumably their souls didn't leave them and come to Matan Torah. And that alone for them makes them reject it and say this is in chronological order.
Wait, why were they? They were with Yisro. They were.
Yes, they come with Yisro, right? Yisro brings it, right? Brings them, right? Vayikach Yisro Chosein Moshe Tzipora Eshes Moshe Achar Shilucheha. Right? They're only coming now. Ve'esh nevaneh asher shema achad Gershom ki omar ger yiti beret nechriya v'shema achad Eliezer gelei ve'bezri v'atzileni v'cherev paro.
Right.
But by implication, you have to recognize that according to the Mefarshim, which put this out of order, which is many of them, that is in fact the case.
Yeah.
Right? And Chazal have a very striking way of talking about this. Because Chazal say that who was Moshe's grandson? No.
That's not
Jonathan ben Gershom ben Menashe, right? Which has a little nun. That's what you're thinking of in Shoftim. He was an idolatrous priest. Right? He's an idolatrous priest at the end of Shoftim.
His grandson?
Right? His grandson, according to Chazal. Right? That's really the son of Gershom ben Moshe, and that's why there's a little nun, because it's right without the nun, it's spelled Moshe. But what are Chazal telling you? That Moshe's children are
not so big.
Right? And this is the interesting thing, is that, and Yoshi Persian points this out, is that what you get, if this analysis is right, is you get two very different models of leaders. Right? You get our own model, which is the way we think of of rabbis, like the rabbinic dynasties, right? Where you're a big Talmid Chacham and you manage to raise your children as Talmidei Chachamim, and they manage to raise their children Talmidei Chachamim, right? Like Aaron is that personality who manages to be a leader and raise leaders. But sometimes there's another model, right? Sometimes there are leaders who
don't manage
that their leading comes either at the cost, right, or at least doesn't affect their family, but often at the cost, right? There are two types of rabbi sons. Right, there are rabbi sons who go into the rabbinate, and rabbi sons who want nothing to do with the rabbinate ever. Right? And what Chazal seem to be telling you, right, midrashically, is saying, well, Aaron is the rabbi sons who become rabbis. But Moshe, for all his greatness, right, the cost may have been that his children are not just average. His son, they are the only ones who don't participate in Matan Torah. Why? Maybe because when he went to redeem the Jews, he couldn't bring his family with them. So they're the only people who don't experience it. Because the cost of leadership was that he couldn't have a family life. Right? And Chazal are in a very intense way telling you that by saying, yeah, Moshe's grandson, there's no bit of avodah zarah. Right? That's the cost of leadership sometimes. Right? And they're presenting two models of leaders, some who their leadership doesn't affect, right, or even enhances the education of their own family, but sometimes, right, and both of them can be great, right? You can't judge a leader based on how his family turns out, because it can go both ways. For Aaron it went the good way, and for Moshe it went really badly. Right? His family is the only one that doesn't participate in Matan Torah. According to Chazal, they end up Ovdei Avodah Zarah, right? Priests of Ovdei Avodah Zarah. Right? And you just have to recognize that that's a reality. That's a potential, right, implication that the modes of leadership can vary widely, and the way leadership affects your family can vary widely, and that shouldn't necessarily make us judge the leader, right? You can be an effective leader, and unfortunately it doesn't affect your family. And that's one of those unintended consequences that come from this analysis. Yes, Max?
I was going to add on to that point, too, that Moshe's children really don't become anything.
No, so they definitely don't become anything impressive. The question of how bad it gets, right, midrashically,
That's what I was
right.
going to add.
Correct, but one way or the other, right, they definitely don't become anything impressive.
I mean, couldn't that also been also purposely by God done?
Correct, it could be, because you don't want to create, right, a Moshe dynasty would have been dangerous theologically.
I mean,
yes,
they thought it was God.
Correct, right, and that might be part of it.